Good afternoon, all. Welcome to Liberty Call. It is Wednesday, 7/20/2022. Hope everybody's having a fantastic Wednesday out there. It is Hump Day. No baseball on today, which is a little aggravating. But, I guess the guys need to take a day off after the All-Star game. They get back to it tomorrow. The Astros play a doubleheader versus the hated Stankies. So that should be exciting. Hopefully we kick the crap out of them a few more times. And what else is going on in the world? It's a beautiful sunny day here in Colorado. A little on the warm side, but not too bad. But anyways, if it's your first time watching, give me a big old thumbs up. I like those. And like, subscribe, share with friends and family. I would greatly appreciate it. Let's see. A pretty good day in the markets. Looks like the Dow Jones was kind of back and forth into the red a few times, but looks like it closed in the green. And tech was really on a roll today, and came roaring back. So pretty much the tech sector is what buoyed up everything else and made the rest of the markets look pretty good. All right, well, let's dive in, take a look and see how things turned out today. The Dow Jones was up 0.15% at 31,874. S&P 500 was up 0.58%, closed at 3959. NASDAQ was up 1.58%, so better than 1.5%, up at 11,897. Small caps are also up almost 1.5%. The VIX was down 2.53% today. It's currently sitting at 2388. Moving on over, Canada was up 0.44. Brazil was flat at up 0.02. Mexico was down 0.33% today. Let's jump across the pond. Germany was down 0.2, UK down 0.44, France down 0.27. The Euro stocks basically flat, finished down 0.06. Netherlands was up 0.72. Spain down 1.18. Italy down 1.6. Switzerland down 0.56. Portugal down 0.6. Let's move on a little further east. The Russian MOEX was up 0.19 and the RTSI was up 1.18. Headed over to the Asian markets. Japan was up 2.67%. Australia up 1.65. New Zealand up 1.17. Moving on over to China. The Shanghai was up 0.77. The SESE component up 0.63. The China A50 up 0.16. The DJ Shanghai up 0.74, and the Hang Seng up 1.11, and the Taiwan weighted came in up 0.27%. So across the day, it was really strong in Asia, and a little bit down across the European markets. And then, like I said, again, here in domestically, things look pretty good. So again, I wouldn't get too excited. This could be another dead cat bounce. Let me bring up the chart here. Again, you can see we are right here, pushing right up against this resistance line. This is the Dow 30 that we're looking at. So, I'll be paying close attention. Are we going to crash through this and continue the upward trend, or are we going to bounce off this and head back in a southerly direction? So, only time will tell. But, I have my own guesstimates, but, I primarily trade off of where the momentum is going in the markets, not necessarily how people feel about things. All right, let's read through today's market recap. Stocks catch a ride on tech as Rebound leads indexes higher. U.S. stocks moved higher on a surge in tech ahead of more corporate earnings. Netflix set a positive tone after the closing bell on Tuesday, saying it lost under 1 million subscribers in the second quarter, which is far fewer than initially feared. I think they were guessing at about 2 million, so better than half than what they were expecting. Probably a lot of people canceled after they watched the final episode of Stranger Things. Let's see here. Moving down. Mortgage, or where was I? It also forecast growth and talked about an ad-supported subscription tier to be introduced next year. The stock was up more than 6%. Mortgage applications slumped 6% from the prior week as high prices and rising loan interest rates pushed would-be buyers to the sidelines. The Federal Reserve is expected to raise interest rates another 0.75 of a percentage point when it meets later this month. Before that, the European Central Bank is expected to make a rate move as central banks try to respond to higher inflation. Tesla Inc. Earnings are due out after Wednesday's closing bell, and analysts will be listening for what the electric vehicle maker says about production trends given ongoing COVID-related shutdowns in China. And Tesla shares rose 1% ahead of the report. Bath & Body Works Inc. shares rebounded after an early tumble, up 1.8% after it lowered its guidance. Oil fell. Crude WTI futures were down 0.8% to $99.88 a barrel, while Brent futures fell 0.4% to $106.88 a barrel. Gold futures dipped 0.6% to $16.99 an ounce. All right. So again, looks like commodities are kind of in a sideways or a slight pullback. But again, until this inflation gets under control, I would expect they should remain fairly strong moving forward. All right. Oil falls on lackluster U.S. summer gasoline demand. Oil prices slipped on Wednesday after U.S. government data showed lower gasoline demand during the peak summer driving season, and as interest rate hikes by central banks to fight inflation fears, inflation-fed fears the economy could slow, cutting energy demand. Well, it could be because gas is like double what it was a year and a half ago. That might have something to do with it. It seems like the trip I took last month was at the worst possible time. It was right at the peak of fuel prices. So I spent probably 2.5 times more than I wanted to. But hey, you don't get a chance to go across the country very often. Prices paired losses during the session after TC Energy said the Keystone Pipeline, one of Canada's major oil export artery, was operating at reduced rates for a third day. Repairs continued on a third-party power facility in South Dakota, prompting concerns about tighter supplies. Brent crude prices for September fell 43 cents to settle at $106.92 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude fell for August fell $1.96 to settle at 102.26 a barrel. The WTI contract expires on Wednesday. The more active September WTI contract settled at $99.88 a barrel, down 86 cents. U.S. gasoline inventories rose by 3.5 million barrels last week, government data showed, far exceeding analyst forecasts in a Reuters poll for a 71,000 barrel rise. Product supplied of gasoline, a proxy for demand, was about 8.5 million barrels per day, or about 7.6% lower than the same time a year ago, the data showed. Quote, the gasoline is the big concern here. You don't really want to be going backwards on gasoline in the middle of the summer, end quote, said Robert Yager, executive director of energy futures at Mizuho. Americans were shocked in June as pump prices climbed to a record over $5 per gallon. U.S. crude inventories fell by 446,000 barrels last week, data showed, compared with analysts' expectations for a 1.4 million barrel rise. Oil prices have been extremely volatile, caught in a tug-of-war between supply fears caused by Western sanctions on Russia and worries that the fight against inflation could weaken the global economy and cut demand. On Friday, open interest in the New York Mercantile Exchange futures fell to its lowest since September of 2015 as concern that the Federal Reserve will keep raising U.S. interest rates led investors to cut exposure to risky assets. Analysts expect oil supply tightness to keep supporting prices while U.S. shale oil production expands at a modest pace. Quote, with little room for OPEC Plus to increase production, the oil market will struggle to balance out in the coming months, thereby propping up prices, said Stephen Brennack of oil broker PVM. Limited supplies have kept Brent above 105 a barrel and prompt Brent intra-month spreads in wide backwardization at around $4.50 a barrel. In a backwardated market, front month prices are higher than those in future months. So a little relief at the pump, but again, it's not. We're certainly not back where we were a year or two ago. All right, more news as far as homes. Existing home sales add to a miserable June for U.S. housing data. The number of sales of existing homes fell sharply in June, adding to a miserable month for data from a slowing housing market. The National Association of Realtors said existing home sales slumped to 5.12 million last month from 5.41 million in May. That was the fifth straight monthly decline, well below a consensus forecast of 5.38 million, the biggest drop in 4 months. It was also the lowest number of monthly transactions since June of 2020. The NAR said that sales were down in year-on-year terms in all 4 of the regional markets that it tracked. The data came hard on the heels of figures from the Mortgage Bankers Association earlier on Wednesday, which showed mortgage demand at its lowest in over 20 years as consumers balk at taking out loans at even higher interest rates. Again, and I realize that's probably going to be the trend, for the foreseeable future, but these rates aren't really that high. I mean, I think the first house we bought back in '98, I mean, we probably had a 6 or 7% interest rate. Car loans were, in that range. I mean, that just was normal for the time. So I think we've gotten spoiled over the last 20 years with, if you refer back to some of the other articles earlier in the week where, the Fed has kept rates ridiculously low or close to zero as possible, is, really kind of gotten people into the mindset that, they should be able to borrow money at little to no cost. And, unfortunately, when you're in the lending business, there is risk there, and you do have to plan against that. And that's what the interest is for, is to make sure you pay you're paying for other people who don't, unfortunately. So, and that's why those who have better credit scores get the lowest rates possible. All right, where was I? Various other data this week have also suggested that the housing boom triggered by the pandemic, which created fresh demand for bigger houses and interest rates low enough to pay for them, is now cooling off sharply as the Federal Reserve raises its official interest rates. The National Association of Home Builders monthly index of housing market activity fell by the most on record in June, while housing starts and building permits also both fell. Quote, falling housing affordability continues to take a toll on potential home buyers, said NAR chief economist Lawrence Yoon. Quote, both mortgage rates and home prices have risen too sharply in a short span of time, end quote. The MBA's reference rate for 30-year mortgages has risen from around 3.5% at the turn of the year to 5.82% as of last week, an increase over 2.5 percentage points, adding hundreds of dollars to the average monthly payment check. Or repayment check. All right. The median existing home price for all housing types in June was $416,000. Holy crap. Up 13.4% from a year earlier, a more modest increase than S&P Global's national benchmark for all home sales, which was up over 21% in May. The NAR said this marks the 124th consecutive months of year-over-year increases, the longest running streak on record. So is that 12.4 years? I'm sorry, 10 years. So 12, a little over 10 years. The NAR also noted that unsold inventory is starting to tick up as buyers become more resident to paying top-notch prices. Even so, property still only took 2 weeks on average to find a buyer, down from 17 days a year earlier. So, and it's something I still get the emails from the realtor websites, from moving 5 years ago. And I just like to see what's on the market in my area and what the going prices are, price per square foot. And I have noticed that quite a bit of homes are sitting on the market a lot longer than they were, a year ago, where everyone was trying to escape the cities to get away from all the nut bars that live in the blue towns. And, today there's houses sitting there, and they're even reducing their prices a lot more aggressively than in previous months. All right. Next article here, 5 things that are always worth the money according to a financial planner. So again, I know I always talk about all the horrible things that are going on in the world and, pointing that out to everybody. But here's some good stuff. Regardless of your situation, spending money in the right places is always a good idea. Conventional wisdom tells us in order to be good with money, we have to spend less. While this can be true, you should also consider the value of items you're purchasing and how certain expenses affect your overall quality of life. Sometimes going for the cheapest option is not always the best financial decision in the long run. Here are 5 areas of your life where you can spend money guilt-free, regardless of your budget. Again, don't go crazy. Staple items. Some purchases are timeless. Spending money on quality items can prove to be a good return on investment. My mom always told me to spend money on good quality shoes and undergarments. Other wardrobe staples, such as a classic pair of jeans or a crisp button-down shirt, are long-lasting items that create a solid foundation for your wardrobe. Classic furniture. In another category where staples win over trendy prices, studies show that we spend a third of our lives sleeping. A good mattress can help ensure a good night's rest. Even a nice sofa or dining table is worth the splurge. I can definitely attest to having a good mattress. I use one of the memory foam kind, and with my bad back, I wake up, I don't feel great, but certainly don't have any real pain sleeping on it as compared to, staying in a hotel or staying out in the travel trailer. We did get a cover for it this last time, but the previous times we took it out, I'd wake up with just the worst pain in my side. If you love to cook, kitchen basics are a great investment. We have cast iron skillets and pots that have been in my family for generations. High quality cookware and knives often come with a lifetime warranty. When it comes to staples, spending more on something that will last many years is better than constantly replacing cheaper items. Yes, and cooking at home will save you a ton of money. So, spend some money on a good quality cookware set and, good quality knives. I will agree with that. Definitely good advice there. So, things that you buy that buy you time. Number 2, we've all met someone who spends half a day making trips to the hardware store or watching YouTube videos to make a home repair that a professional could have completed in a fraction of the time. When you're on a tight budget and have limited funds, it can be easy to take on additional tasks instead of delegating. In reality, you'd probably rather spend that time with friends and loved ones, or maybe you just prefer to have a break. Tasks you don't want or don't have time to do. Spending money on a housekeeper, landscaping company, handyman, or assistant is well worth the money because it helps you get more time back. If you're having trouble cooking healthy meals for your family, meal kits or even prepared meals are great options. You might spend more than you would on groceries, but the cost is often less than daily takeout. I'd recommend watching some cooking videos. Alton Brown, Good Eats. I learned a ton of stuff over the years watching him make food and the science behind it. So I would recommend going to Food Network and watching all his stuff. Most of it, I think, is probably on video on demand. So learn to cook for yourself. You'll save a lot of money there. Number 3, experiences. A combination of clever marketing strategies, social media, and desire to keep up with the Joneses has conditioned us to want more things. Buying the latest gadget or fancy car can give you a sense of satisfaction, but that feeling can be short-lived. Elizabeth Dunn, author of Happy Money, The Science of Happier Spending, found those who spend money on experiences are happier and less likely to exhibit buyer's remorse. Experiences don't have to mean big, expensive trip out of the country. A quick weekend getaway or staycation is cost-effective and well worth the splurge. Other experiences like concerts or festivals can create wonderful memories that last a lifetime. Your health. Number 4, the cost of healthcare in the U.S. has been increasing long before COVID-19 and continues to rise. To some, spending extra money on your health can seem like a luxury. The reality is that your health is an investment, and if you don't invest in your healthcare now, you'll pay for it later. Give yourself permission to spend money on healthy foods, a nice gym membership, or a personal trainer. It doesn't always have to be expensive, but make sure you actually use the services. Spending money on good health insurance also pays off. People with health insurance are more likely to get preventative care, which can help them catch medical issues early. In addition to basic health care, consider dental and vision, like regular cleanings, a quality electric toothbrush, comfortable eyeglasses, and sunglasses. And lastly, self-care. Number 5, self-care goes beyond a day at the spa. While a massage or pedicure can help rid the stress for your week, anything that protects your well-being and happiness is worth the extra money. One of the more expensive forms of self-care is seeing a therapist. Therapy provides many long-term benefits and teaches skills to help you work through your daily thoughts and interactions. Self-care can also mean dedicating time to hobbies or interests. If you love to read, buying books or subscribing to an audiobook service are good investments in yourself. Again, they don't have to be expensive. Think about how you would like to prioritize all types of self-care based on what's important to you, then budget accordingly. Or get a library card. Most places have libraries, most towns and counties have them. Go get a library card and go check out all the books you want. Let's see here. When money is tight, it can be tempting to cut back on things that are most important and pay less for lower quality items. Consider splurging on things that will help improve your life and make you happier. You won't regret it. All good little tips there. So, anyways, all right. Well, hope everyone has a fantastic Wednesday. Like I said, there's no baseball, so I don't know what you other people watch. That's pretty much all I watch nonstop from April through the end of September. So hope everyone has a fantastic evening. If you need to reach me, please go to dsafinancialgroup.com. All my contact information is there, and hope everyone has a great night. Bye-bye.